overtaken by 2 cars already, and at this point in time, it looks to me like he's in 3rd place. Joseph Zanowski is our leader by the looks of things. No, Carl Burney is our leader, and he's followed by Rube Tequila, and in 3rd place, Steve Hobbs. So that's the first 3 at the moment as they go up into the cutting, and the first lap is well on its way. Kevin, any thoughts at this point in time? Very early times. You there, Kevin? Looks like we don't have Kevin at this point in time, so we'll continue on. Bill, at this point, how are you seeing this race? It's just started. They're on the first lap going over the mountain now as they go across the skyline, and now they'll be heading down into the dipper, and this is a pretty scary time for the first lap particularly, and it looks to me like we have the DPs all in front, and they're coming through and going into Forest Elbow as we speak right now, and going for the first time down that enormously fast straight, Conrad Straight. And I'm looking from the 4th position car at this point in time, and they're reaching speeds of 170, 180 miles an hour by the time they get through the chase and down into the braking zone for the left-hander. All getting through safely at this point, Bill.
Rich, where's the passing zones on this track? Can they do anything on the uphill downhill section through the hills?
Very risky to try and pass through the section across the mountain there. You can do it, but with the speed that these cars are going at, it's going to be extremely risky. So we need to just watch and see how they go. At the moment, a caution light is out, so that means we did have an accident. Ayrton, did you see anything?
Yeah, Joseph Janowski, the 3rd place DP driver, crashed out into the wall.
Well, that's no good. Do we have a replay of that, Giancarlo? All right. Well, they're on a caution at present, so it might be a good time for us to take stock of where we are. We must apologize. We had a couple of technical problems early on, and we did start a little late, but we are with the action now as we see the pace car going up the mountain and leading them through on a pace lap number 1. So at this point, Ayrton, what are your thoughts on this track? I know you've just obtained this track and having a look at it for the first time. What are your thoughts?
Well, from the replays I've seen, it looks like a track that requires a lot of endurance and also a lot of speed and consistency as well. What I found most interesting so far into the race is that Rube Tequila in the Corvette classes managed to get himself 2nd overall ahead of some of the DPs.
That's correct. We know that Rube Tequila is a great and a very, very fast driver. So it's not all that surprising that he's up already with his Corvette into the 2nd position, which is great for him. Let's see how it develops as we go further forward. Kevin, are you with us, mate?
Yeah, I am.
Yes, Kevin, we wanted to give you across to you earlier on your thoughts on this track and on the race as we see the pace car leading them down the mountain.
Well, you know, in the Riley, it's a fun, fast, one-line, really difficult course, and you know, 2.5 hours here is going to be really difficult for these guys. So spinning on the first lap and putting it in the wall is probably not what these guys want to do, since staying out of the walls is probably going to be a lot more successful than trying to be fast, just of how difficult this track is.
Yeah, we did have a question, and as we see the pace car hitting the wall, so even the pace car is not immune to having accidents here. So just thinking about this race, 2.5 hours is a pretty long time, so they probably want to be pretty cautious on the opening laps. We did not see such caution from the 3rd place driver who got himself into the wall early on. But Bill asked us a question there, Kevin, as to whether passing on across the mountain was something that these guys would be thinking about. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's going to have to be, the drivers are going to have to be careful, I think. In the Riley, you can go really, really, really fast on the uphills, and it's probably going to be very easy to get stacked up behind a couple of GT cars. So these guys will probably be, the Riley drivers will probably be anxious to make a maneuver, but everybody's going to want so much of the track that if somebody does try and make a pass, it's going to have to be a lot of work on both sides to make sure that it's clean. Because even with the Riley, it wants so much of that track that it'll be pretty easy to get into contact with the other car. So the drivers are going to have to, I think, work together to make a pass happen, and hopefully a slower car can keep his wits about him and help facilitate that.
Yeah, I agree. Just looking down the list of drivers, though, seems like a lot of experienced drivers here. We might take the opportunity to actually run down through the grid because the race started pretty much as we came live. So, Bill, do you want to take us through the top 10 of the qualifying?
Sure. Up on qualifying first was, I'm going to butcher these names, guys, until I get familiar with them, was Kyle Burney. Second was Steve Hobbs. Third was Joseph Janoowski. Fourth was Rob Tukalila. Daniel Bainfield was fifth. Andres Dahl was sixth. Frakus Manzar was seventh. Maxim Ransejund was eighth. Naya Najing was ninth. And Nicole Rosselli was 10th.
Okay, well, that's a good effort there, Bill. Etan, you want to go through the next 10?
Top that, Odin. Top that.
Okay, well, I've got an easy one. Chuck Johnson in 11th, Stefan Overgaard in 12th, Aaron Hamilton in 13th, Stephen Groninja in 14th, Kettrick Finsack in 15th, Jackie Alexander in 16th, Stefan Miller in 17th, and then the leader of the 4 GTs was Amjad Yaman in 18th, Thomas Aram in 19th, and Kimo Swamin in 20th.
And in 21st place, we had Juan Luis Martinez. We had Edgel Sandfield in 22. Out of position 23, Andreas Lewau. Nick Thyssen in position 24. Mike Tennyson in 25. 26 was Francisco Rodriguez. 27 was Stephen Backus. And 28th was Paul Lonergan. There were a couple of non-starters and a couple of guys who started from the pits as well. So I think Daniel Buck and Brian Peters may be the ones starting from the pits. I don't know about any of the others. Let me just see if we have. Yes, we do have Tim Kleisens on the track. So he is in 33rd position according to the list here. And the last place at the moment is Jesper Groeneweg. And that's your field. Going back now to the race, we see that, Kevin, the lights are out, and our leader, Kyle Burney, will be trying to make a getaway as they come to the start-finish. What do you think?
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting line that the pace car has out of there. But yeah, with Kyle sitting in first place and he's got the Corvette right behind him, this should be a good chance for him to get a little bit of leeway on the next guy. Although now that I think about it, not too much, because Steve Hobbs and the DP should be able to get past Rupe on the mountain straight. But yeah, this is a good chance for everybody to try and, buckle down a little bit. They've had a couple laps under pace car to kind of calm down. So now they just need to make sure that they get into a rhythm and start driving some clean laps.
Yeah, that's right. We will be watching Steve Hobbs as they take off, because he's got Rube Tequila. A couple of drivers that we know in this race. Rube Tequila, we definitely know, a good, fast driver. Anders Dahl, I've seen a number of times. Of course, we have one of our own, Stefan Overgaard, in a Corvette running as well. He's currently in 12th place, or he started in 12th place. At the moment, he's shown as being in 11th place. Amjad Yaman in a Ford GT. We know him very well from some of the other series that we broadcast. Stephen Backus, I've seen before. Daniel Buck, I've seen. Tim Clayson's in various cars I've seen. So a number of really good drivers here. And we're about to go green once again as we see Carl Burney take the green flag, and he's heading off. He's being followed at this point still by Roop Tequila. Let's see what Steve Hobbs, who seems to have got a bit of a slow start there, because at this point in time, he doesn't even remotely look like he will catch Roop Tequila there, Kevin.
Yeah, the Riley has such a long first gear that it is pretty easy to get caught out on a restart, and it definitely looks like Steve, that's what happened to him there. And now he's got Daniel Benefield, who's very quick behind him, and then several Corvettes. So Steve probably needs to try and pick it up a little bit, make sure those tires get hot, and rejoin.
Yes, well, certainly, I mean, there's enough time to make your moves later on in the race. 2.5 hours of racing. One thing I want to touch on at this point with you, Kevin, is the strategy for pitting. How many, in a 2.5 hour race, how many pit stops will the Riley have to do you think?
I think they're looking at about 2 stops. There may be some drivers who actually decide to try and do it on 3, since it's going to be close on field, but I believe it's that way for all the cars throughout the field today.
Okay, so we're banking on at least 2 pit stops, which will make it interesting. The pit strategy always a feature in any long race such as this one. So at this point in time, everybody is seem to be just doing their stuff. We've got Anders Dahl now in the 5th place position. I'm just watching him in the GT1 car, the Corvette, to see how he is making that car move down the track. And cars seem to be bobbling around a little bit. Is that just a feature of these cars, or is it that they on the edge already? What do you think there, Kevin?
Well, it's a couple of things. One is, they're probably not running a lot of downforce with the big long straights here. With the Riley, you kind of want to trim the car out as much as possible, try and get that frontline speed. So maybe he's dealing with a little bit of oversteer. And then also, he hasn't really had a chance for the tires to come back up to full pressure yet. And the Riley definitely gets a little kind of funny, shall we say, when it's on low pressures. It can kind of wiggle around and squirm a lot, and that can be really awkward sometimes, especially if you're dealing with low tire pressures when they're cold, so that you can have some nice pressures towards the end of a long stint.
Yeah. When you're setting up a car like the Riley on a track like this, do you set it up for straight line speed, or are you setting it up for handling through some of these twisty corners across the mountain there?
Well, most of the time we tend to, in the Rileys, we tend to take out as much downforce as we can at pretty much any track. And this track with the long straights is really no exception. But as you said, these twisty bits are awfully twisty, and there are, a lot of elevation changes. So there's a lot of work trying to get the suspension to work. I found that it seems like some really soft springs front and rear really helped out a lot, but then that, was a conflict with the aero. So the drivers I think you kind of have to decide, well, what's the part where the car is working the poorest, the uphill, the downhill, the straights, and then tune around for that. But for me, it was kind of, trying to tune the car around the downhill section, actually.
Right. Okay, very interesting comments there, Kevin. You certainly know this track, and you know the cars, particularly the Riley. I'd like to now have a look at some of the Ford GT action. So we'll have a look at Amjad Yaman and see how he's traveling. Currently, he's leading in class Ford GT, and he's being followed by Egil Sandfield and Francesco Rodriguez. And these cars seem very comfortable. I had a few laps in the Ford GT, and I found that being the slowest of the 3 cars, it certainly its handling characteristics, while not not easy, they seem to be quite manageable on a track like this. And the other thing I did find was that the gearbox was silky smooth, particularly on the downshift. You hardly felt the car. Some cars tend to, you hear that clunk when they downshift, but certainly not in the Ford GT. It's a great car to drive, and not surprising that most of the drivers in this field are in Ford GTs. Have you had a go in any one of these cars, Etta?
I have a little bit of experience in the DP and the Corvette, but not as much as probably other people, so I don't think I have much of a say in how these cars drive, only that they're a lot more difficult to drive than the MX-5 for me.
Yeah, I'm just looking. We were watching Sandfield, and one of the GT1 cars, the Corvette, just flew by him going up the mountain. So certainly these Corvette cars, Kevin, they certainly have enough grunt to mix it in with the Rileys.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing that right now with Rupe Turkolo as well, who's really running pretty strong right now. You know, he's second overall. He's kind of pulling away a little bit from Steve Hobbs, it looks like. It sounds like there is a car stopped on track. Has anybody caught that?
Haven't had a look yet. Let's see who that might be. Stephen Backus, we know, is in the pits. There are a number of drivers who are not in the car at all at the moment, so they've either exited for whatever reason, and there's one pit stop taking place, but I don't see anybody off track at this point in time, Kevin.
Well, yeah, we're not sure who that is, so we'll see if we can figure it out. But to return back to the Corvettes, yeah, they've got so much straight line speed, especially on these big, huge straights, that maybe it makes it a little difficult to catch up with them. And certainly they can run pretty well in the corners.
Yeah, well, I'm just going back to the front now and having a look at Carl Burney, who seems to be well in control of this race at the moment. Rube Tequila looking very, very strong in the Corvette behind him. And Steve Hobbs starting to make up some ground now on Rube Tequila as they go across the top of the mountain once again. And we'll see what happens. He should be able to catch up the car, particularly going down Conrad Straight. The car has a lot of straight line speed in relation to the Corvettes, and certainly a heck of a lot more speed than the Ford GT. So it's going to be interesting once he does catch up, as he looks like he's doing slowly but surely, to Rube Tequila, to see if they get into a battle. Or and we have a car right in the cutting there, and that car was facing the wrong direction. We must have a look at that. Going back, and the car seems to have exited because I don't see him any longer. But that was extremely perilous for the driver coming down there, which was Steve Hobbs that we were looking at there, Kevin.
Well, that's done a number on. I think it was Kyle Burney there, Richard.
Yes, it was, and in fact, Kyle Burney is sitting in the pits at this point in time. We put the commentator's curse on him because we were just talking about how easily he was doing it. Now he's in the pits. Go ahead.
So yeah, you know, I was actually kind of looking to see what had happened to our third place DP car of Daniel Benefield, and he had spun on the approach into Forest Elbow, that tight hairpin that leads onto the big long Conrad straight. He had spun it and put it into the wall, and now we've lost our first place car in Kyle Burney. So right away in the first half hour, we're seeing that you've got to stay out of the walls in the Targa series to finish a race.
Yeah, that's correct. And bear in mind, folks, that there are no quick repairs. So he has to sit out and get whatever repairs he can. Maybe just the optional repairs. The car looks pretty beat up around the rear end. So he might be sitting there for a while. And hopefully he can get back into the race, because he was the one leading at the point in time when he had that accident. And in fact, we hope that he can get back in. Well, back to the action now. At the front of the field, we now have a Corvette leading, and that is Rube Tequila. Steve Hobbs obviously backed off a lot with that accident that happened there. Didn't want to get involved in any crashes himself, so he's back to trying to track down Rube Tequila now in his Riley. So this is a bit of a turn up for the books there. Anders Dahl in third place. That was the guy I was looking at. Now, Anders Dahl, he is also in a Corvette car. So the Corvettes are doing very, very well here, Kevin.
Yeah, this is a great run from Rupe to be leading overall in what should be a slower car. But we've seen that, Rupe's a smooth driver. He's a consistent driver. He's a fast driver. And I'm pretty sure he won the Targa Virginia in 2010, I think it was. So, I think this probably suits him pretty well to be able to just kind of run his own pace. And now he's kind of in some clean air. He doesn't have to worry about any other traffic. And he can just buckle down right now and put in some serious laps. And, this is looking pretty good for him right now. I bet he's tickled pink.
Yeah, we've got, if you look down the top 12 cars, there are only 3 Rileys in there. Steve Hobbs in 2nd place, and down in 7th place we've got Nicola Roncelli and Steve Groniger in 10th place. So these guys are finding it a bit tough. Either they are not 100% used to this track and finding some of the corners a little difficult, or the guys in the Corvettes are simply just outrunning them with the car being slightly more nimble. I'm not sure which it is, but certainly we'll find out as time goes by. Now, Bill, is there anything that you have been particularly looking at there?
Well, yeah, I've been watching Amjad Yaman. I'm a fan of him because I know him from the Blondie series, and he's leading the class for the Ford GTs. I wanted to ask Kevin a question. I've been on this track and I'm familiar with it driving the MX-5, where the wind is just will blow the car off like a leaf. Today there's a 20-mile-an-hour wind. Does that really play that big of difference on these cars with such strong downforce?
In the Riley, absolutely, yes. And it looks like, whoa, boy, there was a pass in the Corvettes around the 4GT of, I'm not exactly sure who that was, so we'll try and get back to you on that. But to get to your question there, Bill, it definitely can play a big effect, mostly in kind of how I think it changes the aero a little bit. The Riley seems to be really sensitive to aero changes, and having just a little bit of wind can really make you struggle. And these fast corners, Murray and Hells on the end of the pit straight, will that'll really affect you as you're trying to carry a lot of speed through those corners. And sounds like with the strong tailwind we have on Conrad, that it's really going to be pushing the cars off to the outside in the last corner in turn 1. Sounds like there's a great battle for 4th, Ayrton.
Yeah, for 4th place, Farouk Manzar and Maxime Rinstein have been on each other's bumper for quite a while now. Naoyawi Nagai in 6th has been behind as well, and we have Niccolo Roncelli, who's actually in the Riley, is catching up to these guys, so he might mix it up, and these guys may be getting into a battle pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm having a look at this myself, and if you go back to Roncelli, who's 4th in that little pack there, and he's got 3 Corvettes in front of him. The 3 Corvettes, at one point, we had Maxim Ramstein really right on the bumper of Farouk. He seems to have backed off just a fraction at this point in time. But Niccolo Roncelli is coming up to these guys now, and we're on board with Niccolo at the moment. Let's see what he can do as they go down the very, very fast Conrad Straight. At the moment, they're going through the dipper, around towards Forest Elbow, and then they get onto this long straightaway, which is called Conrad Straight. So let's see what he can do now, as we see that the Corvettes actually make a faster getaway down the down Conrad Straight, and the DP has to kind of play catch up there, Kevin.
Yeah, it looks like Niccolo didn't get a very good run out of Forest Elbow. That's really tricky complex for the Riley, because it seems like the front end just doesn't want to grip. You're kind of struggling with the car trying to lock up the wheels under braking. You're trying to get it to kind of turn in a little bit, doesn't want to turn in. Then all of a sudden it seems like it's oversteering and you feel like you're about to run into the walls. So it's a little bit of a scary, difficult technical corner for the Riley, and looks like he just did not get a good run that time out through there. And it was easy for the Corvettes with their huge top end to be able to run away from them a little bit.
Yeah, well, they should, the Riley should have the advantage going up the hill, because it gets a lot of power down to the ground. I know from running this car at some of the other tracks, it's an absolute blast to drive, but you do have to be careful because you can overbrake. You got to know when to lift. You got to know when to put the power down. It's a very technical car to drive, isn't it, Kevin?
Yeah, it is, and you kind of said it there. And this is a really tough spot for the Riley because it's really struggling to put down the power, get up the hill, and there's a big spin right there in that Corvette.
Spin.
And looks like everybody got through there. Oh wow, that was close.
Was Ramstein, who we spoke about just previously, who was trying to do battle with Farouk Manzar. He got loose, but he's managed to get it going again. It doesn't look like he got any damage. He certainly wasn't touched by any of the other cars. So a bit of a let off for him there, because that could easily have been the end of his day, Ethan.
Yeah, it looks like he just lost it in the middle of the corner, and I think he did clip Niccolo Roncelli a tiny bit. Hopefully he doesn't have enough damage though.
No, he looks okay to me, and really that's what we want to see. We don't want to see a whole lot of cars dropping out of the race because of accidents or damage. The track itself is enough of a challenge that we don't need any accidents, and thankfully so far we've had the one caution on lap 1, but since then it's been fairly clean racing, and you know, these guys are really trying hard battle with the track more than with each other at this point, don't you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I think you're right there, Richard. You know, I'm kind of looking at this, the lead trio of Rupe Turkla, Steve Hobbs, and Anders Dahl, and that's all for position. But again, you know, that's two different classes right there. The DP's in the middle of two Corvettes. And it sounds like Steve Hobbs is closed up a little bit on Rupe Turkla, but, you know, they're not close enough really to kind of think about trying to attack each other unless somebody makes a mistake. I think these guys have kind of figured out, okay, you know, it's time to settle down, just run some laps. Let's get a little closer to towards the end of the race. You know, they figured out maybe how to drive the car a little bit with this huge wind that they've got. Yeah, you know, they really need to be paying attention more to staying between the walls and off the walls than passing other cars right now.
Yeah, that's correct. At the moment, you know, it's still early days. We haven't reached 30 minutes yet. We're currently on about 28 minutes or 27 minutes into the race, so there's a long way to go. You know, in real life, we have on this track a once-a-year event called the Bathurst 1000, 6 hours of racing in the V8 supercars, which we do have on iRacing as well. And in 6 hours, it's not about battling with each other so much as battling with the mechanics of the car. Keeping the car whole for the whole race is one of the big features. And with this race being 2.5 hours, that is long enough for people to have that same sort of consideration, where you want to make sure your car is right when you get to the end of the race, because that's when it all counts, doesn't it, Ethan?
Yeah, and that's definitely a key point. The endurance is the most important thing for these guys, and just staying out of trouble, they'll be able to finish well. And I've noticed a lot of drivers that were involved in the first lap incident, they're still running, they haven't given up, because they know that they've still got 2 hours left to try to get back up there. Even though they're still struggling, drivers like Kimmo Suominen was involved in the first lap, and he's trying to get back up there.
And we see Rupe Turkla is dealing with traffic. He just lapped the GT car of Juan Luis Martinez, who looks like he's got a little damage to his rear wing. And now Steve Hobbs gets by on the approach to the cutting. That's a little bit of a scary place to do it, but nicely done. And Rupe's going to, he's kind of stuck right now behind Jasper Gruneweg in the Ford GT on the uphill, and this has allowed Steve Hobbs to catch right up. So this is what we were saying about being clean, good drivers, and I think we're seeing that right now. They kind of realize this is a tough place to pass. Let's just try and team up, get through this. So well done on these guys so far.
Yeah, what it's done is it's given Steve Hobbs the opportunity, obviously, to catch up to Roop Tequila. Roop not game enough, and neither should he be to attempt a pass across the skyline there. And he's going to wait, obviously, until they get onto Conrad to make his move on the Ford GT car. as they all go down the mountain now. He's straight into it, gets next to him, and without any ado passes him. Now we got Steve Hobbs passing the car as well, and that's Jasper Gruneweg. So these guys get by safely. Now let's see if Steve Hobbs can catch up to Rup Tequila and make a challenge on him, which he's obviously not going to do, as they go through the left-hander, then the right-hander in the chicane, and down towards the penultimate turn number 23. Factually, that is the last turn of the course, and back onto the start-finish straight. So still basically staying in line and not trying anything, as we've mentioned a couple of times. It's really early times. Guys, maybe we should have a bit of a look at some of the other battles that may be going on around the place. Ayrton, have you seen anything that we should be looking at?
No, a little while back earlier in the race, there was a tense battle for second in the 4GT class between Francesco Rodriguez and Egil Sandfeld, but they've quite spread out, and I think Francesco is actually starting to close in on Amjad Yamini. He seems a lot closer than he was before.
Okay, so let's go and have a look at that. So Amjad in the 4GT, leading that class, by the way. Great job from Amjad right there. Right behind him, we've got Rodriguez, and Rodriguez is in another 4GT. So not seeing Sandfield also in a GT car. So seems like there's no battles going on there. I'm having a look down the list, and I'm looking for our own friend Stefan Overgaard. He must have got involved in some sort of drama there, Kevin, because he's way down in 25th place.
Yeah, I've been trying to find that, because we are very interested in Stefan and how he's running. His car looks really clean right now. He's putting down some okay laps, but yeah, I'm still not entirely sure what happened to Mr. Overgaard.
Yeah. The other one that I would have liked to have thought might be further up, although he is in a GT car, so he's not going to be able to be competitive with the GT1 cars, the Corvettes or the Rileys. But that's Kimmo Suominen. Ayrton, you are well aware and know, we all do actually know Kimmo Suominen from the CSCS. It's a bit strange to see him in such a lowly position.
Yeah, he was involved. The cause for the caution on the first lap with Aaron Hamilton spinning, Kimmo Suominen went around the corner and crashed straight into him without even seeing him. So he took a lot of damage from that hit. Probably had quite a long pit stop, and that's why he's so far down in the standings.
Yeah, showing him as 4 laps down, so he's got a lot of ground to make up on the other 4 GT cars. Because bearing in mind, of course, these guys are not battling or racing for position against the other classes. Just checking on Kyle Burney, who was leading the race for the first few laps. He is back out on track at the moment, going across the mountain, coming down into the dipper right now. There seems to be a bit of damage on the back of that car. How will that affect him in terms of straight line speed or even the handling of the car, Kevin?
Sorry, Rich, I didn't quite catch that. I finally just found out what happened to Stefan Overgaard. He accidentally clipped the spun crash car Daniel Benefield, caught his left rear, bent his suspension, and spent a healthy long time in the pit lane. So Stefan's probably furious about that right now, but needs to just kind of focus up and regroup and get back out there. Seems like probably everybody's going to have some troubles today.
Yeah. The thing I was talking about just previously was the fact that Carl Burney, the leader of the race at the beginning, is back out and circulating once again. He's got some damage on the rear of his car, and I was interested to getting your thoughts on how that sort of damage, if you have a look at the rear of his car, will affect him in terms of the handling of the car or even the straight line speed.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage on the back of the car, and to be honest, I'm a little surprised that he can actually drive it right now. As I've kind of said before, the Riley is really sensitive to aero, and he's really damaged the aero on the back of the car. So, his straight line speed certainly will be very damaged, but also his handling is going to be very compromised, and in the section we're right now, Griffin's through the cutting, which is a very, very, very fast section. And then up here at the top of the hill, it's very fast in the Riley as well. So without this aero that he's going to have, he's going to be very slow. The car's going to be probably understeering and transitioning to snap oversteer and just a heartbeat. So it's probably a little more exciting right now than he would really like. And it looks like he's probably about 10 to 15 miles an hour off the pace in this approach to Skyline right now.
Yeah, he's got a badly damaged wing there, and he does seem to be handling it pretty well though, as they go through the dipper and down through towards Forest Elbow again. Forest Elbow is one hell of a turn. Every time I go through there, even in a slow car like the MX-5, you can so easily be caught out, because you go a little bit too wide and that wall on the right hand side of Forest Elbow is just waiting to say hello to you. So I take my hat off to these guys who are able to drive these very, very fast cars. Bear in mind, this is the home track of the Ford, sorry, not the Ford, the V8 supercar. And the V8 supercar is comfortable in a lap time of around about 2 minutes and 7 seconds. A lot of these guys are going a fair bit faster than that. So it is absolutely scary to my mind how this must be sitting inside that cockpit, Kevin.
Yeah, and it sounds like Eric Nellis caught a little bit of a position battle.
Yeah, Thomas Aram passed Andreas Leroux for the 4th place in the Ford GT class. He actually ran probably one of the fastest laps of the race. He ran a lap equivalent to his qualifying lap, so he's definitely on the charge now. After qualifying second, dropping back, he's trying to get back up there.
And I'm looking just in the pits quickly, Maxim Ramstein, who was the car that hit the wall there. I see now that he's in the pits and he's been there for some time getting some damage repaired. So we'll go back and have a look at the front of the field, where we still see Kevin Roop Tequila leading this race.
Yeah, I mean, again, Rupe, he's a good, smooth, clean, fast driver, and this is working out to his advantage right now. He's just putting down good laps. He's in the front of the field, so he's got lots of time to prepare for oncoming traffic. As he's just having a great run right now. Bill,
Kevin and Rich, I want to ask you a question. I think what happened to Bernie is like a cautionary tale for the rest of these guys. Bathurst, like all street courses, are subject to the dreaded walls compared to a purposely built road course. Don't you think that these guys know that with a 2.5-hour race, that one mistake will end your day, and these guys are just kind of taking it easy in the beginning of the race?
Well,
I mean, see a car right off there, Kevin. Sorry, that was Amjad Yaman. Tragedy for Amjad, leading the class, the Ford GT class, into the wall there. Did we see what happened there, Etan?
Yeah, he just lost it coming out of the corner, and he didn't take any damage though, which is good, but he definitely lost a lot of time and positions from that.
Yeah, it looks like he just got a little loose on the entry into Forest Elbow, which is very easy to do, and just went right around on him. But that was a good job gathering the car up and rejoining him.
Kept it between the walls.
And Bill, sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's what I was saying. He was fortunate enough to keep it between the walls, but there's not much room for error there.
That's correct. But in a way, that answers your question as well, though, Bill, in that, yes, the drivers do want to keep it clean, and yes, they do want to just do, just do laps and get to closer to the end of the race. But on a track like this, where, as you said, you're specifically across the mountain, you are enclosed by these walls, and you get a kind of tunnel vision. It is so easy to clip one of those walls. You have to be perfect, as Kevin would probably be able to tell you, starting right here as they go towards the cutting. From this point onwards, the walls are inviting you to give them a touch. And when you've got other cars either in front or ahead of you, that makes it much more difficult. So it is not an easy task on a track like this, as it is on other street courses. Long Beach at California, it comes to mind, So these sorts of tracks, they are very, very tough. Any of the drivers in real life will tell you that when they get to a course like this, it is one of the most exciting, exhilarating experiences, but at the same time, one of the most scary experiences that they ever have to face, Bill.
Right. If Bernie has that spin on Road America, he's back in the race. He's running fourth right now, running down the leaders. Right now, he's out of the race.
Well, that's exactly right, and that is all about what we're talking about in with regard to the street course. Look at Stefan Overgaard. Stefan Overgaard, by the looks of it, is out of the car. He might have decided that his day is done, and that is a simple thing that happened, not even his fault. And now he's out of the race. As we see a car getting extremely loose just in front of Chuck Johnson there, Daniel Buck. That was so close. Daniel was heading for the wall across Skyline, but manages to catch it up and continues on as he comes down into Forest Elbow. And there's another car off the track there, Niccolo Roncelli, whose car's facing the wrong way, and he's now right across the track. He reverses and gets going again. Thankfully, there wasn't another car coming down the mountain there, Kevin, to smash into him.
Yeah, this has been a little bit of a casualty fest for the DPs. I think the only rally that hasn't run into a wall right now is Steve Hobbs, or at least it hasn't spun. So, hey, you know, Bill, I think this kind of comes back to you. Maybe backing off a little bit and making sure you keep the car pointed in the right direction gets you the lead in your class.
Well, they're not taking that attitude though at the lead of the Ford GT, because Rodriguez and Sandfield are just going at it back and forth.
And I would like to mention we did lose one of our Ford GT guys, Kimo Swamin, and he got loose on the exit of Skyline, backed into a wall, and retired right after that.
Yeah. Well, guys, we are now 40 minutes into this race. The action is pretty steady. It's a long way to go still. I think we might just go to a little break at this point in time. Mr. Director, if that suits you, we'll take a short break and we'll be back with you shortly. And welcome back, folks, to the Targa Carrera at Bathurst, where we are in the car here with Francesco Rodriguez, who was running so well and all of a sudden across the mountain has hit the wall several times. His car now obviously has some steering damage. He's on the brakes, letting drivers behind know that he's slowing down. He's been passed by just about everyone else at this point. I would say that he'd be heading into the pits to get some repairs to that damage. Etan, you were mentioning a battle that was taking place just before we went to the break.
Yeah, Francesco Rodriguez, Edgel Sanfield, and Thomas Aram have been battling quite fiercely for the 4GT lead. Francesco Rodriguez actually had a collision with the wall and has dropped back quite a bit. And at the moment, Thomas Edgefield and Edgel Sanfield are really battling it out bumper to bumper at the moment.
Yeah, this is a good battle happening right here. Thomas Aram, and he goes now to the outside in an attempt to overtake, but at this point in time, Edgel Sanfield's not giving up the position. They are side by side as they go up in towards the cutting. Thomas Aram thinks the better of trying to push that situation there, Kevin, as you would imagine is the wise thing to do.
Yeah, and I just want to catch us up on a little bit of action that happened during our break there. Steve Hodge has stopped and served a pit stop, but it looks like it was just a routine stop, low on fuel. We have had a couple of retirements. Nick Thiessen is one. Stefan Overgaard is another. Stefan got to carried a little bit too much speed into Skyline and bounced off the walls really, really hard. So that was the end of his car. That's an unfortunate loss right there. But Steve Hodge, I think, he's, I think, the first of our drivers to have served a proper pit stop, maybe. And, I think that was probably a good run for him. But now he's looking a little lonely. He's kind of running all by himself. So this is a good time for him to just kind of focus, get back in tune with the car, and put down some good laps.
Yeah, well said there, Kevin. And he did have a 52-second pit stop, so that's about as normal as it gets from the time you start entering the pits to your exit time. So that's a pretty good pit stop there. And looking at some of the other action around the place, of which there's not much, we might go back to that battle between Edgel and Thomas Aram, which has cooled off a little bit, but it seems to get more heated as they go up the mountain, Etan.
Yeah, these guys have been, they've been separated and then keep closing back into each other. Both of them are battling quite hard for this lead. Thomas is behind at the moment in that red car, and Edgel is in the green car. They just got passed by Nayo Nagai in the Corvette class.
And now they close up, you see Thomas Aram closing up quite significantly on the exit of turn 1. And they go up the mountain, and once again he catches the draft. I'm not sure, we need to talk about drafting as well with these cars, but now he is behind and he backs it down a little bit on the approach in towards the cutting there, because it's not a good place to try and effect a pass for sure. But Kevin, drafting, we haven't touched on that before. How are these cars in draft situations?
Well, first I want to point out that the third and fourth place Ford GTs are of Amjad Yaman and Andreas Luau are in the pit stops. They are serving their stops, getting all 4 tires, a full tank of fuel, and then to resume out on track. I was kind of wondering how Amjad was faring, because he had closed into within about 15 seconds of the class lead. So I think that was a pretty good run. But about drafting, certainly in the Riley you can get a fantastic draft, especially if you've got a nice little
another car off. Sorry guys, a car off again on the approach to the dipper there. Who was that sitting? Did you see who that might have been, Etan?
No, not quite yet. I'll get back to you.
All right, we'll have a look at that. So still a bit of attrition. Sorry to cut into you there, Kevin. Please go on.
No, it's quite all right. But definitely there's draft, especially with this huge, long Conrad straight downhill and with a big, strong tailwind of about 20 miles an hour. And we see Thomas Aram is looking on the inside. Nope, he's going to tuck back in on Eagle Sandfield as the DP of Steve Groninga kind of looks and then comes back in. Sounds like Farouk Manzar has stopped as well now.
Yeah, so we're in the pit window for the first lot of pit stops, obviously. And these guys should come in, get 4 tires, get some fuel, get maybe some optional repairs done, and the car should be as good as it can be coming out for the next stint. But Thomas Aram now is by himself. We've got behind him Steve Groninger coming up in a Riley. It's one of the Rileys that still seems to be whole and running well, besides Steve Hobbs. A couple of the others, unfortunately, have made contact with walls. It's interesting to see how much faster the Riley is than the other cars just going up the hill here. Although we haven't been able to see Steve Hobbs use that same sort of magic speed to get
Hobbs.
into... sorry, go ahead.
Hobbs is in the pits again for a second pit stop, so I thought he was in good shape, but I'm not sure why he's doing this.
He is heavily damaged. I'm trying to figure out where exactly that happened. It looks like he spun in the S's and heavily damaged his car. So yet another Riley has fallen victim.
See, what I think was going to happen here, I think he was holding station in second place. I think he knew he was faster. He just wasn't pressing for the lead. Make the early pit stop, get some clean track, and then pass him in the pits. But I think while he was pressing to make those fast laps, I think he lost it.
Yeah, I'm absolutely in agreement with you. I mean, you can see it just looks like he carried a little bit too much speed through Skyline, and once you've done that, it gets harder and harder to get your car slowed down as you approach the dipper, and you know, it looks like he just ran out of track there. So that's pretty unfortunate. But Bill, I'm absolutely in agreement with you. I think he had a nice rhythm going on when he was running in second behind Rupe, and as soon as he got out in clean air, he just started trying to go a little faster, and it looks like that bit him hard. And it sounds like Rupe Turkle is finally down the pits now, Ayrton.
Yep, he's just coming out of the pits, and I'm looking at Anders Dahl, who was in second, and he is coming around turn 1 right about now. So Rup Tequila still has a lead over Andy Dahl.
Now, guys, this was very interesting because Steve Hobbs was in the pits there, and Rup Tequila had come in to do his regular pit stop, his first pit stop. They came out together, so Kevin, at this moment, we've got what we've had for most of the race with Steve Hobbs behind Rup Tequila.
Yeah, but now Steve Hobbs just got damage to the front of his car, and that's definitely going to affect the aero. It's going to affect the handling on there, and we can see that, yeah, now where he would have been right behind Rupe on the uphill, he's losing time hand and fist to Rupe through the S's.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. However, he is still leading the class in the Riley DPs. So behind him, Nicola Roncelli, fair way back, quite a number of seconds. So he still has everything to fight for, there's no doubt. But, you know, I'm just looking at Rup Tequila once again here. He seems to be doing it easy, and I hope we don't put the commentator's curse on him. But he has just gone about his business without any troubles at all as he comes down Conrad Straight once again. And just in front of him, there's some sort of overtaking maneuver with Andreas Lewau, and who was that right in front? Roncelli. I'm getting some information from our director that Nicola Roncelli has now taken over the lead in the DP class, Kevin. So Steve Hobbs now in second place in that. In fact, he's in third place in that class. So his day is going from bad to worse.
Yeah, you know, I'm looking through the DP field, and we are now down to 4 Rileys in the field running laps, and 3 of them have pretty significant damage that they're carrying. Only Steve Groninga does not have damage. It looks like his car looks nice and shiny and clean, and he's running laps out there. So, you know, at this pace, even though Steve's running 4th in the DP class, he might have a win if he just keeps going as he's going like clockwork.
Yeah, let's face it, any endurance race is about survival, isn't it? It's not necessarily about speed. It's about, you know, tactics in doing your pit stops and about survival in a long race, as we have seen in so many of the races that we cover. Endurance races you've got to hang in there, and even though things look pretty grim at some point at time, I know from my own experience that you can be in 23rd place in one moment and in 3rd place in the next.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, Rupe Turklo, who's in the overall lead right now, he's not only driving clean, fast laps, but he's also taking the time to note his displeasure in the iRacing chat window at other drivers who are apparently not letting him by as quickly as he'd like. So Rupe is just actually putting on a heck of a show right now as we go back to our Ford GT battle.
Yeah, and how's that progressing, Etan?
It looks like Thomas Aram actually almost had a severe spin the previous lap. Almost lost it, kind of got sideways, but managed to save it, but lost a lot of time. He just did his pit stop and is now passed by Edgel Sandfield, who just went around him in turn 1, so he lost quite a bit of time.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his car at the moment. Obviously coming out of the pits with fresh tires, he probably just misjudged the level of grip that he had, and that might have helped him along with that spin. But he needs to give some time again to settle the car. I've noticed, Kevin, that with a lot of the cars, not only these cars, that with the new tire model that is in effect now, tire model version 5 on most of the cars, even with the slower cars, the whole tire thing is completely different, and people tell me a lot more realistic than it used to be. What we have now is that tires actually start off cold and you have to warm them up. They have very little grip in the opening laps of the stint, and you've got to give them time to warm up before you can actually do your fastest laps.
And we have a caution flag out right now. I did not see what caused that.
I'm just running through the field at this point in time. I see Joseph Janoski with a badly damaged car. I wonder if he was involved in that.
Now, so recent after the pit stops, do you think anyone's going to come in and top off? I guess if you're at the back of your class, you could do it, huh?
Well, there may be some who have not done a pit stop at this point in time, although just looking at the list here, most of the drivers have already done a pit stop, but there are one or two, they obviously are going to come into pit. As far as coming into top off with fuel, I'm not so sure. It depends on what your fuel strategy is, isn't it, Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely. It may be worth it to just go ahead and fill up. So it sounds like our full course yellow was for Paul Lornigan, who spun on the approach into Forrest's elbow and was in a bad spot. So they threw the yellow to make sure that nobody would run into the back of him. And speaking of that, a couple DNS we need to mention. Amjad Yaman spun on the exit of Forrest's elbow, backed it into the wall, retired. Francisco Rodriguez spun it on the entrance to Forrest's elbow, broke his car, and he retired. So I think you can kind of sense a theme there that the approach to Forrest's elbow is very difficult.
Yeah, the Forrest elbows where a lot of the guys are getting caught out, unfortunately. It is a very, very difficult corner, that one. A lot of the guys, I do remember in a real life race, Dick Johnson, one of the great drivers from a few years back, coming in what was called the Green Machine at that time, coming into Forest Elbow, getting it all loose. In those days, there was not a wall there, guys, and he went straight off the track and halfway down the mountain before, he came to a stop. So it's caught out real-life drivers, and it's not surprising that it's catching out these virtual drivers as well.
It looks like Steve Hobbs, his pace is much slower now after he's had his problem. So I hate to write somebody off. In fact, like Kevin said, you really can't write somebody off with the walls taking people out left and right. But I don't think he's going to be able to race his way back to the top of his class.
Okay, guys. Well, we're on a caution at this point in time. It might be a really good time for us to take a break. So, Director, with your permission, we'll go to break. Welcome back to the Targa Carrera at Bathurst, where we're currently under caution. The lights on the pace car is out. The pace car is coming down the mountain for the final time before the race restarts. In the position just behind the pace car, we have Roop Tequila still leading this race, which he's done for quite some time now, guys. And behind him, we have Cedric Finsack. So this is a change for second place here. At this point in time, behind him, we have Anders Dahl. And then Steve Hobbs still hanging in there, Kevin.
Yeah, Steve Hobbs still clicking away, but I'm glad to see that we've got a little bit of a chance for a battle again in the Corvettes, and with Anders Dahl very close to Rupe Turkula. He does have that lapped car between the two of them, and then Farouk Manzar not far behind. So this is a good chance for guys to have a little bit more of a go again.
Yeah, a restart adds a bit of excitement to the whole race as we see guys warming up their tire a little bit, because of course the tires will cool down quite significantly, and these tires these days are quite realistic, and we see there that Steve Hobbs is also warming up the tires, and they're coming down to the chase area now, and then they'll go into the left-hander and then the right-hander of the chicane, and then they will be getting ready to take the final turn number 23. This is a 23 turn track, so now they're getting up to speed, getting ready for a restart. We'll be watching to see how quickly Roop Tequila will get away, and if he's doing it, the pace car goes into the pits. So now the control transfers to Roop Tequila. The green flag flies and Roop Tequila takes off. We have Cedric Finsack, which is a lap car in between. Anders Dahl is officially in second place at the moment, but he's lost a lot of time already, Kevin, to Roop Tequila.
Yeah, Anders Dahl is in the black and yellow Corvette that's trying to hunt down Cedric right now. But Cedric, I think, probably wants his lap back. I think he's a little disappointed to be struggling a little bit. I think he and his teammates were hoping he'd be up there up front. But Rupe's definitely got a great launch as you see him go flying through the cutting right now, just with a lot of speed. So I think Rupe's ready to extend his lead a little bit. Anders, I think, wants to try and reel him in. Cedric is pulling over, and he's going to let Anders Dahl go by to try and chase down the leader. So that was very fair of Cedric. I salute him for that.
And we have Steve Hobbs hitting the wall once again through across the mountain there, and he's not having a great day at all, guys. At this point in time, he can't even keep up with Cedric Finsack in front of him there, so not a great day for him at this point in time. I'm assuming that he's going to have very little chance in catching Rupe Tequila. Meanwhile, Anders Dahl, nice looking car, black and yellow, number 3 on the rear there. Very, very nice looking car. Trying to chase down Roop Tequila, but Rupe, let's face it, Rupe is showing what he's made of, and he's doing it very, very well. Hopefully we haven't put a curse on him at this point in time. Guys, anything that you guys are seeing battles, particularly perhaps in the Ford GT class? Ayrton?
Well, I'll pipe in here. I'd like to keep an eye on Nicola Rosselli. He's the leader in the Riley class, but now I wonder if he has the goods to actually be the overall winner here. He's sitting in 4th. He's 10 seconds back. I don't know if he has the speed to catch the guys in the Chevys.
Well, I would have to say that I doubt that, because he has some damage on the rear of his car, and as Kevin has pointed out to us on a number of occasions, damage to the car is going to upset the handling, particularly across the mountain. And in the wind that we have here, we have a 20-mile-per-hour wind, which we were discussing during the break, must be playing havoc with these Riley DPs. and probably is the reason, Kevin, why they're not doing that well here today.
Yeah, well, certainly it's a contributor. It's not helping with a strong wind like that. I think I said it a few times now. The Riley's very aero sensitive, and just a little bit of a gust when you're not expecting it can be enough to kind of transition you from understeer into a big oversteer snap situation, and that's not very good when you're dealing with walls right next to you in a street circuit. And I just want to point out that Rupe Turkula now has about a 2.5 second lead over Anders Dahl. So Rupe's looking really strong in the lead.
And the race at this point in time is 1 hour and 10 minutes old. That's the time showing on Rupe Tequila. And as you say, Kevin, he's doing it pretty easy at this stage. Anders Dahl in second place is a fair way back from him, and he seems to be extending his lead all the time. It amazes me still every time I see it. I never get tired of watching these guys come down Conrad Straight. It is an absolute flat-out situation where you're doing 180 miles per hour plus in these cars. It is absolutely scary. I can only imagine how it must be in real life. But in third place, we do have Farouk Manzam, who's doing a pretty good job. He was not that far up at the beginning of the race, but he's doing a great job now to be in third place there, Kevin.
Yeah, that's well done by Farouk. He's also kept it pretty clean in that wild paint job, and he's having a good run as well. So I think right now that he's hoping in the nicest way possible that a little bad luck might happen to Rupe and Anders in front of him.
And if we go back to the fourth place car, which is actually Daniel Buck in a jet black car, he's coming up to pass Finsack now. If Finsack will allow him by, he's not going to try anything across the mountain. But a very good fourth position for Daniel as well. So these guys who probably were not fancying their chances early on in the race find themselves now, even though they're a little way back from the leaders, they find themselves back in a handy position, and they could improve as Finsack goes straight across the track, and he is now hit by Daniel Buck. Once again, we put the commentator's curse on these guys. That was a light touch though, and hopefully Daniel doesn't have too much trouble. He's coming through Forest Elbow right now and passing Finsack, so Finsack does allow him by, but that would have been a scary moment, Ayrton, for any car, much less these super fast cars.
Yeah, that was a scary moment, and I also have to mention that for the Riley class, Joseph Janowski is actually reeling in Niccolo Roncelli through the lap traffic. He did qualify higher, so he should have the raw pace, but we got to remember that he does have damage, so we don't know quite how fast he is compared to him, but he is only a couple seconds behind. And also the battle for the lead in the 4GT class is starting to heat up as well, because Thomas Aram, after pit stop in that previous caution, is catching up to Edgel Sandfield from the lead.
And
yeah,
Ayrton, I do want to point...
Go
Richard,
ahead, Kevin.
I just wanted to point out, if you're looking at it on track and you're looking, because Niccolo Roncelli is the leader in the DP class, the next DP you see on screen is the lapped car of Steve Hobbs before you get to second place Joseph Janowski. So a little bit of a visual trick right there if you're watching. But yeah, Janowski is getting closer and closer. Well done there.
Roncelli just got around Buck for an actual position, moving into fourth overall. I still got my eye on him. I think don't give up on this guy.
Well, certainly one thing that does happen, Bill, is when you've got a little bit of damage and you're able to still drive out there, you get a little bit comfortable with how the car is actually handling in that state, and you can drive around it. So if he's got a predictable car right now, he can go out there and lay predictable and hopefully clean laps, and maybe that's enough to get him through this field.
Yeah, and even with the damage we're talking about Roncelli at the moment, he's doing a good job. He's got a bent wing and he's got some damage on the rear. But as you say, Kevin, he's starting to be familiar with that situation and driving the car according to what he's got. So doing a great job at this stage. He is our leading DP driver. We are hopeful that he will maintain that position. Joseph Janowski, is they're passing that black car now of Daniel Buck, and so he is just behind Janoski at the moment. He passes another car there, which is Daniel Buck coming back at them again. My goodness, a little bit confusing at this point in time, but let's see. So Janoski is in the lead of this little pack. Then we've got Daniel Buck and then Steve Hobbs. But Steve Hobbs is a lap car, unfortunately, at this point. So he's not featuring in the listings, even though he is third in the standings for the DP class. But unfortunately, a lap down there.
And yeah, so you know, checking in a little bit up front, Group A Turkula is still in the lead. It's been closed up to within 1.9 seconds right now to second place Anders Dahl. So Anders has closed up a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit. You know, it's progress, and there's still a lot of race left as we have cleared the halfway mark. We still have Farouk Manzar in third place before we get to the first of the Rileys, Nicola Roncelli and Joseph Janowski. But meanwhile, in the Ford GTs, Thomas Aram is all over, well, relatively all over the back of Eagle Seinfeld. I think it was only about a second last time by start-finish line, so this is definitely a race right now.
Yeah, this is, I'm watching that as well. And it seems to be the only battle that we are looking at the moment, as we see them go in towards the cutting. And Thomas Aram seems to be faster in the first part of the course, but seems to lose out as they go across the mountain. Maybe he's just a little more cautious, although he's actually catching up some time, pardon me, as they go across the mountain now towards Skyline, going through the cutting and across the mountain to Skyline. The gap seems to be maintained. That's a beautiful loop that we just saw there from Sandfeld, or Sandfeld, yes. And Thomas Aram struggling to keep up at this point in time. So we'll keep an eye on this battle, because now as they go in towards through the Dipper and towards the Forest Elbow once again, it seemed like he was catching up, and he is catching up at this point in time. Now we might have a real battle going down Conrad, guys.
Yeah, and I do want to note that Jasper Gruneweg unfortunately had a connection problem and was kicked from the server. So he's probably kicking himself. He was about 2 laps down, but he was still within shouting distance of a podium in the Ford GTs. So you know, he can't be happy with that.
Well, in this battle that we've been watching with Thomas Aram and
Richard, Ayrton caught something pretty exciting.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Nicola Roncelli made a mistake in the final corner and let Joseph Janowski by for the lead in the DP class.
And it looks like Roncelli got right back around into Griffin's bin, so this battle is on.
Yeah, I was watching that as well.
And finally, we have a DP battle, which we've been looking for all race. Mind you, Janowski does have fairly severe damage. And then looking at Roncelli's car, very similar damage as well there, Kevin. So these cars seem to be well matched at this point.
Yeah, every single one of these Riley cars has damage on it. You know, it's kind of crazy. I've never seen anything like it, to be honest, you know, with only 4 cars left. But this is awesome. These guys have crippled, wounded cars, but they're still going at it.
Kevin, let me ask you a question about straight line speed. Do you think the Riley should be overmatched by the Corvette and the straight line, because that's what's happening to these Rileys right now, or do you think it's damage related?
I think it's a little bit of both right now. You know, when I was doing some testing myself, I was seeing straight line speeds a little bit over 180 miles an hour. With the strong tailwind that they have, they should be able to get more of that down this Conrad Straight where they're at right now. But maybe these guys kind of missed the gearing a little bit, weren't expecting such a huge tailwind. But definitely with all the damage on the car, there's definitely going to see a slower top end right now. And there wasn't a whole lot of difference between the Riley and the Corvette in straight line speed. So that's definitely kind of caught them out for sure.
When you watch them race together, the Riley against the Chevy. It's interesting because you can see the Riley just dive into the corner. It looks like they have so much better braking, or I have never driven either car, and then the Chevy just pulls away down the straight, and then the Riley catches them by braking his own again. It's really fun to watch.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it. I mean, the Riley is one of the ways that it is fast is by carrying its speed into the corner, and that's something that the Corvette can't do very well. But the Corvette's got those huge tires and lots of torque. So if you can get the Corvette that is pointed in the right direction on the way out, then you can kind of goose the throttle and just get going in real quick. Whereas the Riley, oddly enough, is a little bit more of a momentum car. You're trying to carry a lot of speed at apex and carry that all the way through track out. It doesn't have the torque that the Corvette does for sure. But so you're seeing great mixed class battles, between the Corvette and the Riley, as this same class battle between Nicola Roncelli and Janowski is just fantastic.
Well, guys, you need to be watching. There's another battle here with Thomas Aram and Egil Sandfeld. These two guys, lap after lap, they've been trying with Aram trying to find a weakness in Sandfeld. So far he hasn't done that, but he does close up, as you see right now. He's right on the back of that car once again, and then we find Sandfeld just pulls out a little bit. So these guys are going at hammer and tongs, as well as the other battle between Janowski and Roncelli. So we'll keep an eye on both these battles. What's happening with the Roncelli-Janowski battle there, Ayrton?
Yeah, these guys are still, Janowski actually behind Roncelli now. We probably missed a pass between those two, but Roncelli has now gained the lead back on him.
Yeah, but there's not a lot in it at this point in time. I've just switched to them now, and there's only about a half a second or thereabouts between these two cars. So great battle here, which is something we love. And keeping my eye on the other battle with another camera that's as well. So we see going up the mountain that Roncelli seems to have quite a big advantage over Janowski, and he closes up over the mountain again. So as they go in now through the cutting, you can see that he starts to catch up. So he's obviously pretty good across the mountain here, whereas when it comes to obvious straight line speed, then Roncelli seems to have the advantage. So back to the other battle, they were just side by side a second ago, but still Sandfeld has managed to hold off Thomas Aram. So this battle, if anything, is just as or even more exciting than the other battle up front there, Edwin.
Yeah, Egil Sandfeld has been doing a lot of defensive driving. The previous lap before, he was defending the inside going into turn 2, and he did it just before on the final corner as well. So he definitely feels threatened by Thomas Aram, and that's just making it very difficult for Aram to get a move on him, because he's forced to the outside on every single corner.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of theories about that sort of defensive driving. I've seen it so many times where people call it blocking, but it's not blocking, is it, Kevin? You're just defending your line.
I believe Kevin's not here at the moment, but you're exactly right. If you position yourself properly, it's properly called defensive driving. It's only blocking if you move your position after the other driver has made the move onto the inside.
Yeah, that's correct. You allowed, as far as I know, to change your line one time in a particular section of the track. If you then go back to a previous line, then that will be a block. But a lot of guys, you see them doing it quite regularly in all types of racing when they feel threatened, as we see Aram closing up very much now on Sandfeld. Let's see what he can do down the Conrad straight here, Ayrton. He's trying, he's catching, he's right on the back. What will he do, Ayrton? Will he try the pass? And he's trying it on the inside, coming into the chase. He does manage to effect a pass right there, and now he has taken over that position from Egil Sandfeld, and Egil now has it all. He has it all to do, Ayrton.
Yeah, Edgel actually backed off a little bit, braked a little for that corner. I think he was not very confident about going on the outside for that corner because it's a very fast corner, and he actually gets very loose and manages to save it, but he lost quite a bit of time out of that final corner, and that's just letting Thomas Aram get a lead.
Yeah, he very nearly spun the car there, and if he had done that, well, that would have been all over. But now we do see that this battle is all but over because Thomas Aram has he's just pulled away, and we see one of the GT1 cars, the Corvettes, just passing Edgel Sandfield as well. So I think this battle has cooled off for a while. So let's go and have a look at the Roncelli battle and see how that's going.
And as Bill just said, what you're going to see is that Roncelli spun in the cutting, or excuse me, in force elbow, and wrecked his car even worse. That may be the end of his run.
Oh dear, yes, he's certainly now coming down Conrad. He's still in there, Kevin. He's still battling away, but his car is severely damaged now. There's no doubt.
Yeah, he has to come down pit lane this way. There's no way that car is okay to drive.
I think if they let me enter right now, I could get a podium in the Riley class.
And sure enough, Roncelli stays out. I'm amazed that his car is okay to drive. It looks like pretty much like a paperweight to me right now, but he's putting it around the track.
Yeah, look, I've been in situations like this myself where you think, oh, what the heck, I'll just keep going. And sometimes you can surprise yourself. I've driven with a car where the steering has been at 90 degrees, or the steering wheel I've had to hold at 90 degrees. And I've thought, what the heck, I'll stay out, and, you know, got a podium position out of it. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
I think he has a one-lap lead to third place, so, you know, maybe he's going to limp it around.
Yeah, well, he certainly is in second place at the moment. Janoski with a damaged car, by the way, himself. His car is not in perfect condition as well. But he's leading the DP class at this point in time. His car seems imminently more drivable than Roncelli's car, though, Kevin.
Well, and not only that, but Steve Hobbs, the third place DP, he has retired. He has exited the race. I am not sure if he picked up more damage. Yeah, I just did see he caught some more damage going across the mountains. So I think he's decided to park it and call it a day.
Meanwhile, in the second place in the 4GT class, Edgel Sandfield got loose coming out of a corner and hit the wall, took severe damage, and had to take a tow to the pits. He's sitting in the pits right now. It looks like his challenge to Thomas Aram is over.
Okay, and it looks Steve Graniga, running currently third in the Riley class. Did he just pit? It looks like he just came out of the pit. He may be ready to go the distance now.
Yeah,
I think he will still have to stop one more time. I think they can only get about 40 to 45 minutes of fuel in the Riley, so I think that requires another stop from him.
Well, he did just exit the pits, so he's got a car that is looking good. Mind you, he stayed out of trouble. His car is completely whole. I'm not sure what's going on in the front end, but certainly the rear is completely whole. So what that does do with Roncelli out of it, well, Roncelli is not out of it, actually. He's still going. Janoski still going, so Hobbs is out of it. So Groninga is now promoted into third place, Kevin. Not a bad day's work for him.
Yeah, you know, I think Steve, he looks to me like he's got a little damage on his on the right side of his rear wing. How he picked that up, I have no idea. But you know, that's kind of shocking. He is the cleanest car out there. You know, even though he's got damage. And boy, Roncelli just about lost it going up the hill out of the cutting. But yeah, these rally guys are having a heck of a run today, and it's kind of amazing right now that any of these guys are still running.
Yeah, and we see in the other battle, or the battle of the 4 GTs, shall we call it, Edgel Sandfield still sitting in the pits. Thomas Aram now coming into pit, guys, so this is interesting. This is a regulation pit stop, or did he cop some damage?
He did spin the previous lap, but he didn't take any damage, so I think this is a planned pit stop, but I don't think it matters that much anyways, because he's now a whole lap ahead of Edgel Sandfield after Sandfield's crash, and I think he has his race won unless he has a huge accident that will prevent him from continuing.
Yeah, okay. Well, let us run down the standings right now as far as we know it. We'll check in with Rupe Tequila. Rupe, Kevin, still leading, has been doing so most of the race. The race is 1.5 hours old at this point in time. In second place right now is Anders Dahl, showing on my screen. And that's Rupe right in front of him. So Anders is only 1.5 seconds from Rupe. When did this all happen, Kevin?
It's been fairly stationary for a while. You know, Andersdahl is a very fast Corvette driver, and Rupe, as we know, is apparently the Targa hero here. So they're both running pretty well. It sounds like Rupe did lose about a second on the last lap, but they've been fairly steady in the gap for this since that last yellow about half an hour ago. Yeah, I think both these guys right now just kind of realize that there's still a lot of race, a lot of walls that they can potentially hit. So let's get a little closer to the finish before we start trying to attack each other, maybe.
Well put. A lot of walls to hit for sure. Now, third place for Rup Manzar, 16 seconds back from Anders. He is sitting in third place. So 3 of the Corvette GT1 cars are leading this race, or in first, second, third anyway. Then we get to Joseph Janowski with his beat up excuse for O'Reilly at this point in time. He is overall in 4th place but leading the DP class. And in 5th place, even more beat up and even more an excuse for O'Reilly, we have Nicola Roncelli. So not a good day, as we've mentioned before, for these Riley DPs. Now, going to 6th place, I am looking at Chuck Johnson, who is featured in 6th place on the standings here. We have a car in front of him, Stephen Backus. That is a lap car. He is not racing that car for position. So that's the top 6 for you. In 7th place, a lap down as well, but still in 7th place, Stefan Miller. So
and Richard Roncelli has just dumped it into the wall. That's for the 4th time. I think that's got to be the end of this car. It's in horrible condition now.
Well, excuse me for laughing, folks, but he is on the grass right now. He didn't make it into the pits, but I assume he's going to take a tow. He has taken the tow. He's sitting in the pits. Probably it's time for him to call it a day. A valiant effort there, Kevin, but certainly that's got to be it.
Yeah, it was just one time too many on the last corner. Just couldn't get it together. The car went around and straight into the wall. Hit it pretty hard. You know, as I said, I think we were all amazed that he was still able to keep that thing on track. But lo and behold, it has come to an end.
Guys, I want to bring our focus back up to the front here. I don't think we're learning anything between the top 2 runners. I think they're just out for a Sunday drive. Their pit window should be coming up pretty quick. We can keep an eye on that. But I just think they're, like Kevin said, they're just waiting to the end, and we'll see who will decide it then.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Bill. The amount of attrition we've seen, these guys have to realize that, hey, you know, if we push a little bit too much, that's going to be the end of the race, and just hand it to the other guy. So I'm sure that Rupe and Anders, you know, they want to fight each other, but you know, as we said, there's a lot of race left.
Absolutely. There is not a lot of distance, mind you, between these two. They're maintaining station, and it seems to me, though, Kevin, that Anders is slowly but surely catching. There's 1.099 seconds between them at the line. I would say that is slightly less as we look at the cars on the track right now. These 2 drivers, I must say, have driven these cars magnificently. I mean, the cars are absolutely whole by the looks of it. If they have tapped walls here and there, it's certainly not showing on the car. But not yet the time to do battle, with only 1.5 hours gone in this race. So still a whole hour to go. I'm thinking that, Director, with your permission, now might be a very good time for us to take a break once again. And welcome back once again to the Targa Carrera at Bathurst, folks, where the race is now exactly 1 hour and 42 minutes old. So at this point in time, Rube Tequila is still leading this race, and the person who was following him in second place, Anders Dahl, has chosen to make a pit stop. So that may well be his final pit stop. We in the booth here are very interested to see now when Rube Tequila will make his pit stop, because pretty obviously this may well be the final pit stops of the race. So at this point, Kevin, what are your thoughts? What is Rube trying to do?
I think Rupe is just trying to just keep running laps, burn off more fuel. But I think he's going to be having to stop soon, and then get some fresh tires and run out the final stint of this race.
How much time do you think Dahl can make up on fresh tires? That's the second lap now. He'll have fresh tires. Tequila will be on old tires.
Well, you know, the answer is
Go
don't
ahead,
really
Kevin.
know, I guess. He was behind Farouk Manzar for a little bit. That was a position. But then Farouk lost that position. Actually, I'm not sure. Did Farouk stop now? Now I'm confused. But
No, he hasn't.
It sounds like Rupe Turkla has stayed out yet another lap. So I think that's 3 extra laps over Anders Dahl that Rupe has done now.
Farouk has definitely done a pit stop. In fact, it's showing he's done 4 pit stops so far. So he's done a pit stop. It doesn't tell us when he did that pit stop, but certainly he's done a pit stop. So he's now currently listed in second place. Anders Dahl in third place. So now that's quite interesting, Kevin, because we don't know how far Farouk can go on the fuel that he's got right now. We do know, however, that he's 26 seconds behind and Anders is 43 seconds behind, and Rube still has to stop. So things are getting interesting.
Yeah, you said it, Richard. You know, we got a little bit of a strategy battle going on right now as Anders able to kind of reel in, put down some hot laps and maybe catch within Rupe Turkla. But that last lap of Anders was a 2:01.349. His final laps of his last stint were mid-2s, so he's a little bit slower right now with fresh tires and a fuel tank than he was with an empty tank and used tires. So this is still very close.
Yeah, and we know, as we've spoken about before, that when you just come out on fresh tires, you need to take 2 or 3 laps on the current tire model to get the tires warm enough before they start working properly. So that's probably the reason why he is a second, well, not a second, maybe half a second slower than Rupe at this moment. But it'll come good, and then he should be clocking faster laps than Rupe. So we'll just keep an eye on this, because with Rupe having to go in,
Leader in the pits.
let's see, how long did Anders stopped for 54 seconds. Rupe, if we say he's got to stop for a similar amount of time, the gap is 43 seconds. He might well be in first place.
Tequila's in there right now.
Rupe is, and not only is Rupe just nailing the laps out on track, but he also completely nailed the pit entry, straight lined the nasty little double chicane they had, used all of the curves. So Rupe is finding time everywhere right now.
Right, so we'll keep an eye on his pit stop. Now let's see. I'm not showing him actually his pitting time at this point in time. We'll find out when he exits. So we'll keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, he's coming out right now. Anders Dahl, where's Anders? Anders is coming around, so it looks like he is still in second place. He did not have enough. So how long did Rupe stop for?
It was
says
Rupe
32 seconds.
Yeah, Rupe spent about a second and a half longer in his stall than Anders Dahl did, and that gap is just inside 2.5 seconds. So overall, Rupe gained a little bit of time on Anders Dahl, but we're talking a half a second before their pit services. So this battle is still on for sure.
Absolutely, and Anders, so yeah, the gap is still a visible gap. So now they're on the final stint, one would think, with 1 hour 46 minutes. So we got about 45 minutes to go in this race. So this is where the gloves start to come up. It's still a little bit early because there's a lot of racing to still go. But at this point in time, you start to think about when can I make a move, or maybe I should push along to try and get up closer or something like that. So strategy now is all towards making a move to win the race.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the strategy right now for Anders Dahl is just trying to reel in Rupe Turkla, but he's lost about a half second, almost a second, very quickly. So Rupe is out and flying on those fresh tires, which, or at least comparatively to Anders Dahl right now. So Anders' best bet right now is to just keep plugging away, trying to reel Rupe back in, and maybe try and pressure him into a mistake. But honestly, I can't recall the last time I saw Rupe make a mistake.
Yeah, he's a very, very good driver, there's no doubt. And Anders does have his hands full. But, you know, when you can see the driver in front of you, even if he's a couple of seconds ahead of you, once you can see him, that is an inspiration or a motivation for you to keep fighting. And Anders is no slouch himself, so he's not going to give up. He's going to see if he can make up the time to Rupe, but he does have a very, very good driver in front of him, but we'll see what happens. So let's go and have a look at some of the other classes. Joseph Janoski, our good friend with the very bent car, he is still leading the class, the DP class. And looks like he's doing a great job keeping that car on the road and in first place, Kevin.
Yeah, you said it right there, Richard. He's doing a good job keeping that car on the road. The whole right side of his car is banged up pretty badly, especially the right front, which is going to be very difficult through the right-handers there going up the mountain. It's really hard to get the car to kind of grip and slow down in that corner. But there's only one other Riley car on track running, and that's the car of Steve Groninga, who, albeit slow, has been much cleaner than anybody else, and that's taken him from the back of the qualifying field to a very nice second step.
Yeah, he has done a great job just keeping that car circulating nice and neatly. Not the fastest, as you mentioned, but certainly doing a good job, because it seems to me just keeping the car on the road is a big problem for these DPs. Going now to the Ford GT class, we can see Thomas Aram leading, and he's leading by the better part of a lap here. If we look at where he is just going around into the cutting, Andres Levo is the car behind him, coming up into the cutting now, so not that great a distance. They both clocked as being on the same. No, that's not right. Anders is a whole lap down, so no race there for Thomas. Ayrton, sorry.
Yeah, Thomas pretty much has this one in the bag as long as he doesn't make any major mistakes. So as long as he drives nice, consistently, and safely, he should be able to get this win.
Yeah, you know, it's there's always a risk somewhere there. I'm sure you guys have found this out as well. When you've got a very, very big lead on somebody, the temptation is to slow up and drive conservatively so that you don't make mistakes. But that can catch you out, because if you're not driving at full sort of concentration and on the edge all the time, you're more likely to make a mistake. Have you guys found that as well?
Well, Richard, I just want to point out that the craziest thing I've seen is Nicola Roncelli is back on track in a car that looks like it's more fit for a knacker's yard than a racetrack. Somehow he's got that thing pointed in the right direction. He's out there, and he's actually going at fairly high speeds. which is not something I particularly care to do. But I guess he's determined to ensure that he gets that third position and maybe gets something more out of it if some bad luck happens to some other guys.
Aren't there
Well, Kevin,
there's only 3 Rileys
he
running,
went
right?
from exiting the car, like goodbye, see you later, to back in the pits again, and now he's back out on track again. So if there's a for Jacob, if there's a sort of hero of the day award in your race, then that goes to Nicola Roncelli, because he's done a magnificent job in keeping a car that is more ready for the scrap heap than anywhere else on this track.
I think it's, excuse me, guy. I think it's a matter of principle for him. He's the last car. There's only 3 running. He's the last car. He's going to get that thing to the checker flag.
I think we should also give some.
And
or not. He's in the wall again.
He's back in the wall again, Kevin.
All right. So how many times have I said it? 3 or 4 times. But that has got to be the end of that car.
Well, it's just destroyed the whole front right now. He's back in the pits. I'm betting he's going to get whatever repairs he can and come back out again.
I think we should give some props to Joseph Janowski. If we remember all the way to the start of the race, he was the first car to spin, crashed out and hit the wall, and ended up setting himself into last place. And look at him now. He's in 3rd place overall, first in his class. That shows good determination.
Absolutely. As we saw Steve Groninger just get a little loose there on the final corner, he's now headed in towards the pits. So that will be probably his final pit stop, very slowly negotiating the chicane, which is pretty tricky, and going into pits. So he has no danger, I'm pretty sure, from Roncelli, because Roncelli is Roncelli out again? Don't tell me he's out again. No, he's still in the pits. So at this point in time, you know, it's become a kind of a comedy, really, as far as the DPs are concerned, excepting that Joseph Janowski, as you pointed out, Eton, he's done a pretty good job, and he's deserves that first place home.
And I'm going to butt in real quick because Steve Groninga, who was our cleanest Riley, spun in Skyline on the exit, or the approach to Skyline, I should say, and nosed into the wall, banged out the front pretty bad. So that's why he's in pit lane to get some repairs. So this has been an ugly race for the Rileys.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Meanwhile, let us go now back to the front. Director, I'm sorry for chopping and changing, but the battle for the first place seems to have cooled off a little. Maybe it's because of some lap traffic there, but Kevin, there's a 3-second gap now.
Yeah, you said it's 3 seconds, maybe a little 2.5. So maybe it's cooled off. Anders, last time I checked, it was about a 3.5-second gap. So it looks like Anders Dahl has closed in a little bit, but it's still, you know, I think these guys are still realizing that there's still a lot of racetrack left, and you know, still trying to keep it clean. But Bill, let's talk about somebody that you're pretty familiar with, who's running a very quiet race that we haven't talked about, Chuck Johnson.
Yeah, I know Chuck. He did a little stint in the Blondie series. Always a consistent driver over there. He's doing the same thing again. Running 5th overall, 4th in class. Good job, Chuck. Number 15.
Well, guys, I have got to throw in some 2 cents here for Chuck Johnson as well. Chuck Johnson is one of those drivers who, for some reason, I've raced against him in the Continental Endurance Series. And he's not the fastest driver around, but, you know, he's always around at the end of the race for some weird reason. He just hangs in there, keeps it pointed in the right direction most of the time, and, you know, he's not slow, but he's certainly not the fastest guy around there, but he always somehow features in and around the top 5 or so in any race that he partakes in, I have to say.
He's like the B- student. Never gets any attention, but never causes any trouble. Graduates and ends up working at a nice job.
Yeah, well, that's right. And, you know, you take your hat off to people like that. our own Joe Peak is another one of those guys that never really the fastest guy out there, but certainly one of the cleanest and always ends up somewhere near the top in a race. Mind you, in the Blondie series, that's nearly impossible to do with the high quality number of drivers you have in that series. So let's just take stock of what we have at the moment. Kevin, leading this race, Rupe Tequila, doing it easily at the moment. He's just following another car, Stefan Miller, also in one of the similar cars to his, from Canada, lovely blue and yellow car, number 31. He's following him down the mountain so as not to make any strange or unpredictable moves, and probably now he'll put his pedal to the metal and take the car as the driver ahead brakes slightly to allow him to pass.
And Richard, I'm going to jump
Dahl,
in. Yep, you're
second
going to
place.
see that Anders Dahl was by Stefan Miller, kind of held up Rupe Turkle a little bit, and that allowed Anders Dahl to close within half a second right now on the live timing. So this race, just one little car right there. Stefan Miller has been very quiet today, running a clean car, but that definitely slowed up Rupe Turkle. So that big gap, relatively big gap that he had, is now gone. So maybe this is Anders Dahl's moment to start attacking.
Well, we did see that Rupe was very conservative behind that car, and certainly was going quite slowly down the mountain. So the gap is now virtually only a few car lengths. So the battle is hotting up. So this is for position, folks. This is for the first position in the race. Rupe Tequila leading. Anders Dahl coming up behind him. Anders Dahl just had a brief look, more a showing rather than a look, to show Tequila that he's right there. And Tequila has responded with increased speed up and across the mountain. However, we have Anders having none of that. He's following him pretty closely, and the trip down the mountain will be interesting as we see Tequila pull away quite a number of car lengths just going across there. He's really good across there, Kevin.
Yeah, and you can see that Rupe pulled out a little bit of a gap, but Anders Dahl focused a little bit on the downhill, close up as I watch Rupe get a little sloppy through the S's. So maybe that's going to help Anders close up a little bit as they approach the Dipper.
And coming to Forest Elbow now and back down the straight. See, look at the exit that Rupe gets there as we see a bobble from Anders. So this is where Rupe is so good. When he needs to, he'll get those perfect exits. Mind you, Anders has got a fast car because he is reeling him in, probably due to some of the draft as well. But let's see what happens. He closes right up as they come into the left-hander of the chicane, or sort of chicane. It's not really a chicane. And they come down to turn number 23, which is the final turn, and he closes right up there, Kevin. So the battle is definitely on.
Yeah, you know, it looks like Anders is a little stronger under braking to me than it looks like Rupe is, but Rupe is very strong on the exit of Forest Elbow, which is the corner that leads onto that big, huge, long main straight. Well, not main straight, but back straight, Conrad straight. So as long as Rupe keeps getting that good exit out of Forest Elbow, he's going to have an advantage over anybody else, no matter how much how hard they brake. But if Anders can get a lot closer approaching Forest Elbow, then he's going to have a much better chance at sucking up in the draft and making a move. But so this battle is still very much on, and one of these guys, I'm sure, is going to make a mistake in the next 30 minutes.
Well, you've just put a curse on one or both of those drivers, and they're not going to like you for it. Now, if you notice, going across Skyline here, Rupe is excellent through this part of the course as well. And Anders really struggles to keep up with him. It's going down the mountain with some of that late braking that we spoke about as he closes up, you can see. Now we come once again into the Dipper, out of the Dipper through the S section there, and down to Forest Elbow. This is where it counts. If he gets a good exit here and he does not, well, he gets a good enough exit. It's just that Rupe gets a better exit, Kevin.
Yeah, and I just want to step in by saying, you know, by trying to say that one of them would make a mistake, I was kind of going for the inverted commentator's curse and allowing them, you know, to make sure that they finish this out. Because it seems like whenever we do talk about somebody, they wreck, especially at this track. But here we can see Anders Dahl once again closes up very much under braking. He's definitely the stronger car under brakes, but Rupe still gets that great exit out of every corner. He is so good getting on the throttle and getting a good run out. As Anders Dahl, man, gets right under the bumper, leading into braking for Murray's corner as they're on the pit straight. Anders Dahl kind of shows his nose approaching Hell Corner. There's no way he's going to make this move. But sure enough, he tucks back in, and now they go up the long uphill mountain straight.
Kevin, I'm liking the looks of Anders here. He's, if he puts on enough pressure, Rupe might well crack, because look, he's right up against him. He shows his nose every so now and again. Now he shows it for real, and decides no, he won't try it right there, because that's a very dangerous part of the course, very fast, and not the place, particularly going into the cutting here. You do not want to try anything. Now they also have a lap car in front of them, and so this will change things up a little bit. The lap car, no, the lap car actually brakes and lets them straight through. So Ayrton, what are your thoughts on this battle? It's really getting hot now.
Yeah, well, that lap car was Edgel Sandfeld, and great driving by braking and letting them by, not causing any problems, and letting this battle continue. This battle is really going strong, and I'm just surprised after 2 whole hours of racing, especially on such a difficult track like this, that there's actually a battle for the lead that's within half a second. I just find that incredible.
Yep, that is incredible. Guys, I have a coughing spell here. Kevin, will you just take over for a minute while I get some water? Sorry.
And so we can see that Rupe once again has gotten a fantastic exit running out of Forest Elbow, and has you know, pulled that gap a little bit on Anders Dahl. It's a great run right there. So Rupe has responded very well to kind of open up this lead. So Anders Dahl is going to have it all over to do again to close up and try and make another attempt at this, as we are inside of 30 minutes. We're getting very, very close to the end, it seems like. These guys have done a fantastic job running 2 hours, as you said, Ayrton, and still putting in together a race.
Yeah, they have about 25 minutes to go, and I mean, from what I saw from the previous stint, Anders looks a lot better on worn tires. So as this stint comes to a close, I think Anders is going to get faster and faster while Rupe starts to fall off. So then that might be a chance for Anders to make a move, and he should just wait for that opportunity.
Dahl has been following for 2 hours and 15 minutes. I mean, he's been in second place, the same position the whole race.
Right, and I think, as you say, you know, by following Rupe right now, he's got a very good sense of where Rupe's fast, where Rupe might be weak. So he's got all the strategy right now, what he can do and what he thinks Rupe can do. The risk right now, which some drivers fall into, is sometimes when you've followed another driver, it's difficult to drive your race. And it looks like Anders Dahl just bounced off the wall in on the approach to Skyline. Is his car damaged?
Well, guys, I'm back. I am really sorry about that, but yes, Anders Dahl did touch the wall. He gave it a good whack, but hopefully he doesn't have any damage. And Rupe slowed up a little bit by a left car there, so we'll see how it pans out. He's been really good down the straight here. He's got to pass this car, and no, he looks all right to me, guys. It's still on, so this battle is back, mind you. No, his car looks fine. I'm pretty convinced his car is fine. In fact, he closes right up on the back of Rupe, but he's been doing that every lap. Let's see what happens as we go into Murray's corner and to start a new lap once again. Closing right up under brakes. He's really good under brakes, Kevin.
Yeah, he is fantastic under brakes, but I think he picked up a little bit damage on his right fender. I'm amazed that he didn't break that car. It sure looked to me like he just belted the heck out of that wall, so it's a fantastic lucky save there. But you know, I think Ayrton nailed it. You know, on the last couple stints, Anders Dahl was much faster at the end of the pit, or excuse me, at the end of the stint than I think Rupe was. So Anders is just looking stronger and stronger. Is he going to be able to make the move though on Rupe? That's the big question for me.
Yeah, and it's a very good question too, because Rupe has withstood the challenge. It's sometimes there are drivers that like to lead from the front. I wonder if Rupe is one of those guys that likes to lead from the front. I know that I don't mind leading a race because you know you can dictate when and how you're going to run it. Some guys, however, do like to follow. As he spins once again, Kevin, that's it. He's just done. That's it. All gone. All for nothing at this point now.
Well, that was unfortunate. That, oh boy, you know, man, Anders was putting on a great race, and to roll it after hitting the wall, that's, oh man, that's tragic, I guess.
Absolutely, Kevin. Unfortunate. And he has to go straight across there to allow another car through. That is pretty sad. It was a great race up to that point, but he was obviously pushing as hard as he could to stay with Rupe, because Rupe leading from the front, and he's half spins it once again. I would suggest he'd be coming into the pits now. There's hardly any point in carrying on with the car that badly damaged.
Guys, I can sing a medley of show tunes if you like, because I don't know what we're going to cover now. I can't find a race anywhere.
Well, just, you know, I'm looking back at the Anders incident. It looks like he just got a little bit loose on the fast left-handers and just couldn't reel it in. And boy, that was a ride. And pretty wild crash to roll it right back onto the wheels right there.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate. But they did put on a good show for us for a while. I'm pretty sure now that Rupe can breathe easily, knowing that he now can run out towards to the end of the race without too much trouble. Having said that, there's still a whole 20 minutes to go in this race. Probably time for us to check in on the top 10 and see where everybody is, and then we will take a short break.
Well, I'll start us off. So we, as we've been covering, Rupe Turkala, who I don't think I've ever seen him make a mistake in a Targa race. He is leading in the overall field. Joseph Janowski is our first Riley car. He is in second in one of the few damaged Rileys that's still out there. And then Farouk Manzar will be our second place Corvette in third overall. We haven't talked too much about Farouk. He's had a quiet day. That car's been nice and clean, and now he's sitting second in class, third in the podium. Anders Dahl is currently being shown fourth. He will be for a little bit, because the next car after him would be our fifth place car of Chuck Johnson, who is a lap down on the Corvette field. Aaron, you want to take us through sixth?
Yep, Stephen Miller, who's also had quite a quiet race, is in sixth, 3 laps down. Thomas Aram in 7th place, but he's in first in the 4GT class, is also 3 laps down. And then second in the 4GT class and 8th overall is Andreas Loau. Then Cedric Finsack in a Corvette, and Steve Groninja in the 2nd place DP car in 10th overall.
And some of the other cars whom we have not even mentioned during this broadcast, in 11th place we have Brian Peters. He is driving a Ford Corvette, and by all accounts the car is whole, and he's circulating, which is a lot more than a lot of the other cars are doing. So good job from Brian Peters. Then we come to the third of the Ford GT cars with Egil Sandfeld, still circulating and doing a great job there. Jasper Gruneweg is next in 13th place. In 14th place we've got Paul Lonergan, who is another driver we have not mentioned at all, but his car also looks straight and whole, and that's if you can do that on this track, then you've done a great job for the day. And finally, in 15th place we've got Stephen Backus. Slight damage on his car, but still circulating strongly, so good job by him as well.
Yeah, 32 cars took the green flag, and we are sitting with 15 running right now, and I think there's exactly one that hasn't collected the wall in some fashion, and that one car is in the overall lead right now. So I think that kind of tells you just how difficult this race actually is.
Absolutely. Well, folks, we will take a short break, and then we'll come back and run out to the end of this race. It's been quite a race to observe, I must say, so we will take you to the end. There may well be a few surprises before that. And welcome back to Bathurst, folks, where we're coming to the closing stages of this race now. 2.5 hours it's been, well,